Hey, Shalom Markins, Rakam Akapashim, Jim Isladin, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem HaKadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in all sincerity. Alright, back again with another video. And I got this article here that brother posted up in the chat, right? Talking about the worst, worst borough in London, right? And, brothers that have been watching us long enough know the majority of us brothers started off here in Dagenham, right? Right, used to call ourselves the Dagenham Israelites, right? And that's where we first started teaching. But right, but yeah, this is the officially this year, and probably for previous years and future years, the worst borough to live in London, right? But this is where a lot of the brothers came out from around. Um, you know, and it's interesting, and it's just showing you how grounded down the people are, right? Their living standards is grounded down, right? And Esau just you know raping people basically, or raping people, in their living standards, man, right? Because it mentions something interesting here, which I went to look up something after this, right? But this is the worst borough in London to live in, yet hardly anybody can afford to live here. And it's mad. How could that be the case? Right? Yeah, there's poorer parts in the UK, that are cheaper, but you go out there into these other towns and cities, and they're nothing like London. They are these areas, other areas are a lot poorer. Like the Manchesters of the world and stuff like that, right? They're a lot poorer. But for those where London is the centerpiece of the UK, right? Not just England, but the UK is the centerpiece of the UK, and this is where all the money's at. Where most of the business is being done. Okay, it's the wealthiest part of the UK, right? And they require everyone to be here, to work here, to live and to work, around London, right? But no one can afford to live in it, right? They're not paying they're not paying enough, and the properties are not cheap enough. And as much as all these government schemes that come about, talking about affordable housing and all these different fucking schemes to get on the property ladder, most of these people can't afford it. They simply can't, right? But they also turn around and make you feel bad for like wanting pay rises and stuff like that, or you'll cause inflation. But the big bosses, they're getting all kinds of bonuses, they're getting all kind of big wage packets, right? But you want to ask for a modest pay rise, and all of a sudden you're the bad guy. You don't deserve it, but you can't afford to fucking live. And in Barking, which is what this picture's from, I know exactly where this is. There's a lot of food banks, man. A lot of people living out of food banks. Right? There's a lot of poor people, man. I mean, there's some that are better off. There's some people that own or are renting. I don't know, man, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of these affordable properties. They're basically half renting, half owning, right? Which sounds like the worst of both worlds, right? People on these what's the scheme called? Shared ownership, right? The government was offering shared ownership schemes, man, and it just sounds like the worst of both worlds. But because there's the transport links from Barking is good. People want to move here because it's the cheapest place to live in London. But like I said, the majority of people can't afford to live in London. Everybody else is in council properties. They can't afford to own their house, right? They're poor, right? But I'm gonna read some of this article, and I'm gonna get the statistics for it. But it just shows you how Esau's grinding people down, man, and eventually, like as we know, the WEF, okay, don't want you to own anything, right? They're gonna strip everything from everybody, right? And have you living on a universal basic income, man, because people are so damn bad, right? And it's gonna be worse for even those that can afford things right now, right? Because they're going to be stripped of their income and their ability to do anything, right? But let's read some of this article, right? Friendly neighbors who offer up a splash of milk during desperate times, ample job opportunities, and green space right on the doorstep. These are just some of the factors that might influence how happy we feel in our local area. The numbers have been crunched, and the least happy, yes, technically the saddest place to live in London has been named. It's bad news for Barking and Dagenham, right? It's where I grew up, right? Which came in 33rd place among all London boroughs and 220th across the whole of the UK, right? Yeah, it's not looking good. According to Rightmove's Happy at Home Index for 2025. Right, and it's now in its 14th year. The wide-scale survey asked thousands of people in more than 200 locations how content they are in their area. It looked at factors including a sense of belonging, safety, access to shops, amenities, community events, and proximity to nature. Best place to live in London or around London is Richmond upon Thames. And I guess the best overall is Skipton in North Yorkshire. Yeah, we've got brothers in Yorkshire. Or around there at least. It's just going into the history of Barking, which I ain't gonna go into. Blah blah blah. Talking about improvements. Right. So let me grab this bit here. So according to one report, 41% of these are affordable, right? They're supposedly creating building affordable housing. Which is crazy, right? They call it affordable, but yet nobody can afford it. Right? But because this is how they rate or define affordable, right? It says, which means they are offered at below market value. Right? And the market value is completely fucking manipulated. Right? Completely manipulated, right? And so that doesn't mean shit. Affordable should be affordable for those on low incomes. On low incomes. Right? That's affordable housing. Right? But you're gonna find out what income you need to afford these affordable housing, right? So what is it like to live in Barking and Dagenham? It's worth noting that Barking and Dagenham has some of the worst social-economic challenges in the entirety of London. According to the 2021 census, 46,100 households in the borough, a staggering 62.4% were deprived in at least one of the following areas: education, employment, health, and housing. These statistics place Barking and Dagenham as having the most deprivation, not just in London, but across the whole of England. Right? And it's just talking about the area and stuff like that. Right. So here it is. This is affordable housing, right? It's below market value, right? So you should be able to afford it, right? But the truth is this. Housing in Barking and Dagenham, according to Rightmove, the average house price in Barking and Dagenham over the past year is 370,824. Right, so it's almost 371,000. Right, considerably below the London average of 658,000. Right, that's when you go into more central parts of London. Right, that's how much they cost. Right, so you got to be on real money to really be living there, or rather, own your own house in London, in central London. Right, this is Barking and Dagenham on the outer edges of London. Okay, what they call Greater London, right? But that's how much you would need. You would need 371,000 to afford the average house in Barking and Dagenham, in the poorest and saddest area in London. That's how much you need, right? Earlier this year, the IG11 postcode in Barking and Dagenham was identified as the cheapest postcode in the capital for property. Right, so it's the poorest, it's the saddest, and it's the cheapest to buy a property. Right, at 371,000. Right. So while 60k basically, right? While 60k was revealed as the salary needed to buy a house in the borough, one of the lowest in London, right? So this affordable housing, you need to be earning 60k, right, to afford the housing in the poorest, saddest, cheapest part of London. Right? So, how many people can afford that? Right? How many people can actually afford that? Right? So I put it into Google, obviously, right? Google knows. Right? So the AI overview says approximately 10% of the UK population, the whole of the UK, earns a gross annual salary of 60,000 or over. 10% of people. So that means 90% of people cannot afford to live in Barking and Dagenham, in the poorest, saddest, cheapest part of London. Right? And let's see, how much of the population is in London? How much of the UK population live in London? Percent. Around 30% of the UK's total population lives in London, with recent figures placing Greater London's population at over 9 million people out of the UK's total of roughly 67 to 68 million, meaning roughly 1 in 8 people in the UK reside in the capital, making the UK's largest city and a significant demographic hub. Right? And with these 13%, they don't earn 60k. That I can guarantee you. Right? How many people in London earn? How many? Oh man. London. Let me rephrase that. How many people that live in London earn 60k plus? See, like this salary, this 60k salary, right, that they're talking about, that you need to have to buy a house in the poorest part of London, right, puts you in the higher earning bracket, right? He sort of stifled like wages so much, and everything's inflated around it, that these people like 60k, you're pretty much broke still. Not broke, but like you can't afford the things that you would be able to afford, back in the day. Things have become so much more expensive, and like I said, that's all been heavily manipulated, the housing market and all that kind of shit, and costing things in general, right? But workers are really being held back, right? It says, well, it's like 2025 figures for London aren't immediately available in the snippets. A 60k salary puts you well into the higher earning bracket, right? But they can only afford you to live in the poorest part of London. Right? And it just shows you this is the world of the elites, man. Right? So nationally, around 10 to 12% of UK adults earn over 50k, right? And the whole UK, right? And to reach the top 10% of earners requires over 66 nationally, suggesting a significant portion of London's higher paying jobs contribute to this. Though London's higher costs mean 60k feels more like an above average rather than a wealthy income, which is true. So it's not actually giving me how many people in London earn 60k who live there, right? Right, fair enough. Right, so that's just to show you, bro. It's outrageous. Right, to live in the poorest, saddest part of London, the cheapest part of London, you need to earn 60k, but only 10% of people in the UK earn that or above. That's crazy. Right, so what's it? 10% is like 6.7 million. That's it. That's the amount of people in the whole UK that can afford to live in Barking and Dagenham. It's crazy. And people wonder why people are down and out, man, and bugging out. You know, but this is the world Esau has created. You know. Right, Proverbs 29 verse 2. Let's get these scriptures now. Right, it says when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear fall, the people mourn. Right, the people are being grounded further and further down into the ground. Right, there's no such thing as a good living. If you're not part of the elite, there's no real such thing as good living. Okay, you're getting by. Okay, unless you already, kind of establish yourself in days prior, and when houses were cheaper and stuff like that, and you got a good job and salary now, you paid your house off. Yeah, you're probably living all right. For now, for now, right? Until Esau pulls the plug. All right, but if you're trying to do anything now, you gotta be earning dumb money that's not even normally achievable in this place. Like jobs over 60K are not frequent, right? They're so hard to get. They're rare, right? The average full-time salary that a guy might get paid is like 37,000, right? That's the average, right? If you're working full-time hours. If you're not, then you're not earning that much, which is another issue. If you're not, how many hours you can actually work. All right, but yeah, it's not really achievable. It's not, and so people are suffering, right? And every year, let's say with these string of governments that come in and they put in, raising taxes or raising some kind of tax, is taking away your money bit by bit, and also the what's the word? The watering down the money system, devaluing the money, right? So you're being, things are being taken away from you all the damn time, man. Right? Everything else is going up around you. So you're able to afford less and less as time goes on. So that eventually pushes everybody down, and these quote unquote higher brackets of earning are not very high on anymore. Like I said, you can't even afford to live where you work. 90% of people can't afford to do that. Like to work in London and live there. Like I said, those that live in London, they're on benefits or housing benefits, or like the council properties, being supported by the government, but they're being bought out, or they're being knocked down for new developments and that, for these affordable houses or whatever, and so they're disappearing. And these places are purposely, like, they're so behind on building new houses, right? So it's like manipulating the market, because there's bare people in the UK. The man always talk about the immigrants and stuff like that. There's loads and loads of people coming in, or loads and loads of people here, but there's not the housing infrastructure to support them all. So obviously it's going to cause house prices to go up also, to go up and stay higher also, right? And that's why rents are getting out of hand. Everything's getting out of hand. More and more people are out on the streets, and that's what I'm saying. As time goes on, it's going to push everybody further into those categories, man. Standing at food banks and shit. But this is, like I said, this is the environment Esau has created, and why people are through. This is James chapter 5 verse 4. See, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is kept of you back by fraud. Right? Esau, he don't pay people right. Okay, he pays people with deceitful balances, man. Right? These FRNs, it's fiat currency. Right? You don't pay nobody right. Also, he don't pay nobody until like the end of the month, end of the week, or whatever. You're meant to get paid, on completion of the job for that day. But Esau don't do nothing the right way. Right? He's got some complicated tax system. Okay, that's always taking money from you. And every time the government needs the more money, they'll just tax you more. And these elites, they get more, they don't get fucked. The poor people get fucked all the damn time. But the rich don't get fucked. Excuse my French. You know what I'm saying? The poor get screwed over all the damn time. These elites make, no matter what, tax they might put on, for higher earners or whatever, like the elites never get touched, man. They make more money year upon year. They have ways to avoid paying you anything, through their various assets and businesses and all these different types of things. And they've got the lawyers and all, they got all the top people on the job. They don't pay damn near anything compared to what the poor pay proportionately, Right? I said, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, of the workers, the laborers, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. All right. When I say this is the world of the elites, everything is for them. This world is not for us. Right? It's not for us, it's for the elites. To drain every last bit of, use out of the people. Right? Because everything that you've accumulated, you might have been lucky to buy a house or whatever, the elites are going to take all that stuff back. And that's what they're doing. Oh, and I was going to say slowly, but it's not even really slowly. You're going to be on UBI before you know it. And your house is going to be repossessed before you know it. Right? We already went through the pandemic, and things were happening, things like that were happening. People's houses being repossessed, right? Because the inflation went mad, crazy high. People crying about their mortgages and shit because it like tripled up. But where were they meant to find triple the money, triple the pay? There's not even a job out there that will triple their pay for them to be able to do that. It's crazy, right? And like I said, because they don't earn that much money relatively, their mortgages is high. They can't put down a big payment, right? Because their savings, because these banks always offer these low percentage mortgages and that kind of stuff. So man, just well, I can afford a house now, so I'm just gonna go with this 1% mortgage or whatever, the 5% mortgage or whatever the hell it is, and then something like the pandemic hits and your mortgage is going up crazy high, and then you wonder where you're gonna find the money for it. This is Hosea chapter 12, verse 7. So he is a merchant, the balances of the sea are in his hand, he loveth to oppress. Right? And this is being like the tribes of Israel, man. But Esau is in this position, right? And this is what he's doing. Right? He's a merchant, he's about making money. Esau is about making money, man. Right? And oppression, right? The balances of the sea are in his hand. Right? He set up this whole financial system, man, this fiat currency system. He took gold off the money off the gold standard. Right, so your the money you got in your pocket isn't actually worth anything. He's the one manipulating the markets. He's the one that creating all these these events that is affecting people. He loveth to oppress. Right, because while he's doing good, because during the pandemic he was doing good. The elites of Esau were doing good. Everybody else squirming, in pain, right? Through, crying, breaking down, mental health issues, all that shit. Suicidal. Right? Esau was making dough. While that was going on, he was making dough. Right? Repossessing houses, getting more assets. He was living it up still. But no, the average person struggling. Went into full survival mode. Frightened to turn the heating on. Couldn't afford it. And I said food banks were popping off. They were popping off. And they're still popping off. So again, he is a merchant. The balances of the sea are in his hand. He loveth to oppress. This is Micah chapter 6, verse 11. Pardon me. This is so shall I count them pure with the wicked balances and with the bag of deceitful weights? For the rich men there are full of violence. Right? They just want to crush people, man. And like I said, bit by bit, people are being crushed further and further down. Right? That MLTB is coming, man. And this whole digital ID and this digital infrastructure that's being built, man, that's what you're going to have to adopt, because you're not going to have no damn choice. Right? You're going to have to take that, man. You want to eat, you want to purchase anything, buy or sell, right? That's what the scripture say in Revelation 13, right? You're going to need the mark of the beast, right, to buy or sell. So you want to purchase a house or whatever, you want to, if you're lucky, you're lucky to have enough to go purchase something, right? You're going to need that. You're going to need your ID, your biometrics, you have to have the CHIP, you have to have all of that, right? If you want to do any of that type of stuff ever again. Because you got plans in this place, right? You got plans that you got dreams you need to live out in this place, man. So, you people are just, willing to do anything to keep your dream alive, right? But that's the mistake. Believing that this place holds the future. This place don't hold the future, man. Your dreams are not gonna manifest here, right? It's gonna end in a fucking nightmare, right? The worst nightmare you could ever foresee. That's what this place ends in. Okay, the dreams are just illusions in this world. So again, for the rich man thereof are full of violence, and the inhabitants thereof have spoken lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouth. Right? So we just being lied to all the damn time, man. Being mugged off, basically, by Esau's elites, man, and told that this is just how things are. No, they've made it this way. People are suffering because they have made it this way. It's Joel chapter 20, verse 19. So because you have oppressed and have forsaken the poor, these elites don't care, man. Right? Because you have violently taken away a house which he builded not. Right? He's gone around stealing people's lands and possessions, resources. Right? And like I said, the WF is on that same mission, man. Okay, these organizations like BlackRock and they're gonna buy everything. These pawns of the elites are gonna buy up everything, man, and leave you with nothing. But they're lying to you, or trying to convince you that it's all gonna be all right, though. It's all gonna work out. You people ain't have to worry about a thing no more. You got Elon Musk supporting the idea of universal basic income, or as he would say, universal high income, basic high income, or whatever. Everyone's gonna be well off, right? Just like Trump said, you're never gonna be as rich as you're never gonna feel. You're never gonna be as rich, or something like you're gonna be richer than you've ever been, or some shit, right? Just chatting bare shit, bare lies, bare deceit, right? They're trying to make you feel comfortable with the future that they're building, where you on pay as you go, when you on pay as you go tariff, you want to pay as you go tariff. You need a C-hip implanted in your head or your right hand or whatever, right? And you want to pay as you go. Pay as they say so. It's just like, come on, man. You're going to become a real slave. Begging for scraps. All right. Yeah, Esau's coming for everything, man. Because he's not happy with his portion. Content. He's not content with his portion that he's got right now. It's Micah 2:2. It says they covet fields and take them by violence. Let me start from the top. Verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Right? That's why the elites are always scheming and planning, right? Looking to further their hold and tighten their grip on the world. Right? And make people's lives misery. They have great joy in that. They love to see it. Everything that's going on that's affecting people, out here, it doesn't affect them at all. Not even a little bit. They don't feel none of this. Or this, the extra hardship that happens each year. They don't feel none of it. Life continues on as if nothing is going on outside. So they're really like away, separated from that. Detached. Right? And not that these politicians on any super high level or nothing like that, but they're on a higher level than everybody else, right? when they make all these decisions and these laws and rules and stuff like that, right? These policies, it don't affect them. They're rich. It don't affect them. And they live a completely different world to what we live in. They live a completely different world, man. And they get all their freebies and stuff like that, second houses and shit. They don't feel a damn thing. They get themselves pay rises when they feel like it. It don't affect them. But they're the ones making all the decisions for the country because you dumbasses voted them in. That's why voting is just dumb, because they're always going to look after themselves. None of them are gonna sacrifice nothing for you. Nothing. Not one of these dudes, man, is gonna sacrifice a damn thing for you. Right? They're gonna be all right, and you're gonna suffer from their actions. It's as simple as that. Right? And they got people that need to keep happy, so they ain't trying to, upset big money, But the poor now, yeah, they'll upset you because you ain't gonna do shit about it. You're just gonna cry about it. Right? But yeah, it's Micah 2, verse 2 now, right? And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. That's what Esau's into, man, oppression. And to take. Right? The next part of the plan, like, is to take more. So therefore thus saith Lord Yahweh, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall you go haughtily, for this time is evil. Right? We're going into evil times. We're in evil times, man. But the evil is only gonna increase. Let's get verse 10 here as well, right? So arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, right? Like I said, these people that got these dreams in this world that they want to fulfill, right? That they want to live out. Okay, you don't understand that this place is not the place of dreams. You've been sold that. You've been told that, right? America, come to America and live the dream, right? The American dream, right? But it ends in a nightmare, right? That false facade, turns real messy, real ugly. This place is not the place of our rest, right? And this is why we should be focused on the kingdom of heaven, right? That's why brothers, are focused on the kingdom of heaven, right? Because this place is nothing but a damn fucking nightmare, and it's gonna go out mad. It's gonna go out sad, mad, bad, and sad, and we don't want to go down with this place, man. Okay, all these people's dreams is gonna shatter. Right, they're gonna all find themselves in slavery or dead. Losing everything. Right, but not for righteousness' sake. So arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. This world is polluted. It's wicked. So it shall destroy you, even with a sword of destruction. Right, that's what it's gonna happen. It's death and destruction. Is from Ecclesiasticus chapter 13. I'm going to read from verse 18. It says, what agreement is there between the hyena and the dog? And what peace between the rich and the poor? Right? As the wild ass is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor. And as the proud hate humility, so doth the rich abhor the poor. So all these rich tech guys that are supposed to be coming here to fucking save the world and save people because they care so much, man, they don't give a damn. You are a problem that needs resolving. These tech guys, these smart guys, right? These geniuses, right? You're a problem that needs resolving. And William Gates already gave you the equation, right, to work out. He already broke it down for you, right? Because this whole world is obsessed with carbon emissions, right? Making the planet green, right? And there's too much of a certain resource. Yeah, I guess so. Right? There's too much of a certain resource on the planet, right? It needs to be reduced. Right? I'll say no more. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But there's certain thing on the earth that needs to be reduced, right? You are a problem that needs resolving, right? And all these tech guys have got the answers, okay, for that brave new world, right? They got the answers for it, right? That's why you're getting taxed the fuck right now, and that's why, that's why you're gonna be digitally enslaved, and while there's gonna be a war, there's a whole bunch of things that these men are doing, plagues and pestilences, all kinds of stuff, right? They are prepped, right, and planning more things for you, right, in order to save the planet. That's part of it. Part of saving the planet is reducing certain numbers of certain things. Because there's too many of you. You're resource heavy, and and you're bums, right? AI can do the jobs of 1,000 men. All this type of stuff, right? Machines and AI, you're surplus to requirements now. So you're just resource heavy, right? You're a burden on society, right? And we're tired of hearing you talk about how poor you are. We're sick and tired of it, right? That's the elites, and like I said, they got the answers. They got the tech guys, they got the geniuses working on these problems to resolve them, right? They hate the poor, they hate the poor, right? So don't believe on that bullshit about them trying to help mankind. Yeah, a small portion of it themselves, but not everybody. Otherwise, they'd be helping out already. Help you, actually doing actual things that will bring the poor up out of poverty. But they're not doing that. They're making more people go into poverty. How does that make sense? How can you be actively working towards something, but the opposite's happening? They're not working towards it, then, is it? They're obviously working opposite, against that. This is Haggai chapter 1, verse 6. You have so much and bringing little. I'm saying you gotta work. There's people out here with multiple jobs, man, working all kinds of stupid ass hours, doing overtime, and just to make ends meet. You know what I'm saying? Let no one buy a house, right, in the poorest, saddest, baddest part of London, because they can't afford it anyway, right? They're just doing it to make ends meet, right? Because you have so much and bring in little. What we get in return after taxes come out, after we pay taxes for everything, fuel, food, everything, you're not left with very much, realistically. So you eat, but you have not enough. You drink, but you're not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there is none warm. Bro, I've still got. Not that I need it, right? I didn't need to keep it, but I have. I have clothes that are like 20 years old. Things from 20 years ago. Wait. Might even be longer than that, right? And thankfully, I think that's just a testimony, actually, because even like stuff that's that old, right, has no right to be still wearable. But yeah, I think it's a testament, right, where things were just made better back, in the older days, right, than they are now. Because things don't last very long now. These new clothes that you buy, they don't last very long, right? But the older clothes, I don't know, some of them are still around, man. I'm just saying, innit? Right? But yeah, like, you clothe, but you're not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes, right? Your money don't go nowhere, because Esau's always diminishing it, right? Because he deals with deceitful weights, right? And like I say, he's just taxing you to high hell, right? He's constantly working against you, right? The rich don't have to worry about money. They have assets. They have things of actual worth or actual value. They don't worry about getting paid salaries. They are money. You know what I'm saying? They have money, like they have wealth, right? They don't get paid, right? They earn interest on assets and all these different types of things. They don't get worried about getting paid. We worry about getting paid because we're servants. We're slaves in a system. And so we require a salary for our work. But that work, or the payment for that work, is always being diminished. So we're getting paid less and less every day, pretty much. Right, and like I said, these governments will just add more taxes and this and that, and you got to pay for this now. Oh, we convince you to buy electric cars. Oh, we're going to charge you more for electric cars now. You know what I mean? Because we conned you already, so we're going to con you some more. We're going to do you in some more now. Because you bought the con. Because you're meant to be going green and saving the planet. But now there's a cost to saving the planet. You know what I mean? I'll just drive my petrol car, thank you. I'll just pay for petrol. Even though they'll up the taxes on that. But at the end of the day, it don't fucking matter. They're taxing the shit out of everything. So when we decide to drive electric, I would even say you're in a worse situation if you're driving electric already. You know? Because most of these people have to take out these finances on these electric cars anyway, and they fucking cost a lot. You know? But whatever, man. Esau he's just wearing down people, grinding them into the dirt. All right, that's the point. Right? And I'm going to close out with this, right? Baruch chapter 3, verse 8. And this is why this place is not our rest, man. It's not meant to be our rest. This is the place of our captivity. All right, so this is Baruch 3, verse 8. It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments. And this is why Jake can't get ahead. Now, you're going to have a certain Jake out there that, think they're slick, because they set up some sort of business now, they're earning decent money or whatever, right? Got some Jake, they're millionaires out there, right? Outside of the entertainers, of course, because them and everyone knows about them already. But you got Jake out there, doing his thing, setting up businesses or whatever, right? And they got they're earning their millions and that. But this again, I will tell you for a fact, right? All of this is gonna end badly. All this is gonna turn into a nightmare. Right, because you coveted after the things of the world, over, seeking the Lord. All right, and so you're going to end up with nothing. Right, but those of us that have searched the Lord, or Lord has searched us out, in return we didn't get understanding of Him, right? Those of us that are in this world don't have very much, and whatever we do have, we're prepared to lose. It's not a big thing. It's like, we put all our time and energy into something that we're going to be disappointed if the Lord takes it away. It's not like that. But for these guys, they spent a lot of time and energy into building their businesses and coming up from the bottom. Right? It's very it's heart-wrenching for that to be taken away from you. But that's what the Lord is going to do. Right? But you're not going to want to give up these things. Because really you was about this world, and this world is temporal. So it's all going to end bad for these dudes that, like I said, that are doing somewhat decently, or somehow halfway decent. Because they say they're not elites. They're just, they might be a millionaire, but it's not that high of a level. Comparatively, it's just better than being poor, isn't it? It's just but you're closer to the poor than you are to the elites. I'll tell you that. As someone on the average salary, you're closer to that guy, right? In terms of spending power, you're closer to that guy than you are from an elite with his hundreds of billions and trillions. Okay, you're closer to that guy, bro. And so it ain't nothing for them to pull the plug on you and send you back down there. And that's just the truth, man. So you guys, you feel good because you can stunt on the poor and look good in front of the poor, but you ain't on the level of the elites. Right? You ain't nothing to them. You're poor in their eyes. Still. But yeah, but that's it, man. We're in a place of our captivity. This is not meant for us to live it up. And so, I'm also going to remind some of these guys that, look, man, you should have been searching for me. Okay, and not seeking out the wealth of this world. We'll read it again. It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments. Right? According to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God. All right, so yeah, we're continuously subject to payments. We're continuously being grinded down by the elites. Okay, where our living standards is being eroded every day. Right, that to fact, to the point where you can't even live. You live in London, you can't even afford to buy your own house in the poorest, saddest, baddest part. Even though you be working there, but it is what it is, isn't it? It's the signs of the times. But this place is about to come to an end, man. So, like I said, we don't care. Bro, we still live here. You know what I'm saying? Bro, still live in these areas, man. Yeah, we don't care, man. This place is going to be over and be destroyed. And Lord, we gonna walk into the kingdom, man. And then we could really start living, and I ain't gonna worry about fucking house prices. All I gotta worry about is getting the labor to build it, right? It ain't gonna cost me too much. You men are gonna just gonna get it, right? So and every area gonna be happy. All the Israelite areas is gonna be happy. All brothers from all places in Israel are gonna be happy, man. Yeah, can't say the same for you heathen for the first 1,000 years, but we're gonna be happy. All right. But yeah, I'm gonna end it there. Lord, when this has been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.